Welcome to the Remarkable Podcast. I'm your host, Doug Ford, and I am so excited about the conversation that I get to share with you today. My guest, Garrett Huffman, is a realtor with 14 years experience, and he has tons of great advice that will help you build your business. So enjoy this episode, and all the contact information for Garrett will be included, so please reach out to him. I know he welcomes the opportunity to network with you. Thanks for joining me this morning. And so welcome to Remarkable Podcast. Your hair looks great.
I feel like Jim Carrey right now.
And we're here to talk about real estate because I think we both qualify as real estate nerds. So let's go. Tell me about real estate and how you got into it.
Oh, great question. I got into it because I hated my job. Back in 2010, it was like, I don't know if you remember back in 2010, like the economy was just pure garbage. Like it was bad. And I was in my 20s, I was waiting tables and like early 20s, early 2000s, I was making like 80, $90,000 waiting tables like 5, 6 hours a night.
Why would
But
you do
I
anything
watched
else?
Yeah, I was like, why would I? I'm 20 years old. I'm making stupid money. But 2006, 7, 8, like I saw my income just kept going down and down and down. And by the time it got to like 2010, I was making like $27,000 a year. And I'm like, I can't move forward in life like this. So,
Right.
I was in a high-end restaurant and a real estate broker came in quite often. In fact, he's a pretty big one in terms of sponsors, but he he's like, you should get your real estate license. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, yeah. How much is that going to take me? He's like, oh, well, it's 40 hours. You can do a 40-hour course and get your test. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So I signed up for my course online and they gave me 5 2-hour sessions. I'm like, all right, well, I'll knock these 5 2-hour sessions out and then they'll give you the next 10-hour sessions. Well, the online course, 2-hour session is an 8-hour class because it's focused content. So I did a 40-hour course in 2.5 days, and I took my license test like the following day and a half. So from the decision to get my license to actually getting my license was 4 days. Kind
Yeah,
of crazy, but yeah, that's what got me into it.
that's awesome. So that was in Detroit, is that right?
Yeah, Detroit,
Michigan
Southeast
area?
Michigan. Yeah, it was Southeast Michigan. It was
Nice.
something else. So
So tell me what it was like. You said that was 2010. What was it like for you in the beginning at that point? What was the market like? What were you doing?
yeah, so taking me back. So back in 2010, the market, if just a memory jog for people, it was distressed, like really distressed. The amount of foreclosures and short sales and distressed properties was through the roof. And I got into it as everybody's getting out of it. So I'm getting my license, and there wasn't coaching, there wasn't a whole lot of mentors at that time. Zillow was really starting to come around a little bit, but still, people weren't buying houses. So first 6 months, I kind of white knuckled it. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have anybody coaching me or teaching me or training me or anything of that nature. And then I got connected with an investor, and he's like, "Go join a real estate team." He's like, because I wanted to get into investing, but I was 28 and didn't have any money. And he's like, "Go join a real estate team, get some experience, come back to me when you're needed." And I'm like, "All right, cool." So my first year I did 7 transactions. My following year I did 48. But like during that second year, I think at one point I had 22 some deals under contract, and not one of them was scheduled to close in like the next 90 days because they're all short sales, foreclosures, HUD properties. Like it was wild. People were snipping copper pipes out of houses. Like you couldn't get
Yeah.
financing on things. It was crazy. It was crazy. But yeah,
Huh.
yeah.
That's cool. And so were you at the beginning, I assume maybe still waiting tables? Were
Yeah,
you
no,
kind
I had 2 jobs for a long time. See, like 4 years. I was still working 2 jobs. It was the adrenaline of rushing, waiting tables. It's a skill set that has actually carried with me my entire life. It just brings a sense of urgency that I have to have with everything that I do. I'm a high energy type I type. I'm a high D, high I personality. So I have
Sure.
to be constantly stimulated with either people or activity. So the waiting tables, it's pure chaos. And it's like, all right, cool, let's do this. And then you get to build relationships. So still doing it. I was still doing that on a part-time basis, but the restaurant was, 5 to 10. So I can do real
Of course.
estate.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
In the
so I can
evenings,
do
right?
yeah, so I can do real estate, during the day. And I learned very early on. You don't tell people, oh, I'm working my second job tonight. I can't show you houses. It's hey, I'm on an appointment on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So, and I would always tell people on an appointment because you don't want
Yeah. 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 You got to keep your professionalism. It's an appointment with your other job,
to. Mhm,
an appointment with the
mhm.
people that are going to give you tips.
Exactly. There we go.
Yeah.
Get some light in the
So
background.
it's interesting you say that, and it brings up a question that I think you would agree to this because I've heard you say it probably in conversation other times. But how do you attack the idea of managing your schedule in the beginning, and even maybe now? You have people that you mentor and have a bit of a team function going on in your current
Mhm.
business. So, how do you handle your schedule? And specifically, what I'm thinking of is do you ask your customer or your client when are they available, or do you tell me about that?
No, so I'm a huge advocate on time blocking, within reason. But when it comes to my calendar, I don't want to look at houses at 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, especially in the winter. It's dark. You can't see anything. There's snakes, bugs, things. I'm in Florida now. It's crazy. Don't trust anything in this grass. But when it comes down to like what my calendar looks like, I want to be home by 5. I want to be with my family. I want to be with my wife, and then I want to be home. I enjoy cooking. I like to be at home. So whenever I make an appointment, it's, hey, great, would you like to get together on Tuesday at 1 or maybe Wednesday at like 3? So I always want to try and control my calendar by saying, hey, I'm going to give you two options. It's a or B principle, which I also learned in the restaurant. It's called choice principle. You give somebody the option of A or B, they feel obligated to pick A or B, regardless if C, D, and E are available. So
Yeah.
you give them a choice, and then, well, let's do Wednesday at 3. Okay, sounds good. So you get to control your calendar. You can actually do what you need to do during the day. And, if you go in with the limiting belief of, well, I'm only going to be able to show houses after 5 because most people work 9 to 5, you would be amazed at how many people that you walk around. It's like, does anybody have a job? Like, it's like, I think everybody's unemployed and they're just buying houses. It's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. We tend to make priorities for whatever or time for whatever is our priority. So when people are shopping for a house, it's all they're thinking about and they make the schedule work, right?
Yeah, they make the schedule work. They're gonna move what they got to move to make things happen. So it's nice.
Amazing. So tell me a little bit about where you find most of your clients, because I think a lot of new realtors, they get into the business and they have those first two deals in the 6 months because
Hmm.
their aunt and their, friend at work both said, "Oh, we'll hold on until you get your license." But then what?
Exactly. This is a great question. It's going to be a lengthy answer. So
Good.
when it comes to lead generation, that's actually something I'm really passionate about. I look at it from two perspectives. You have inbound and you have outbound. So most people put so much energy to try and create inbound lead sources like Google pay per click or their website landing page, SEO, Facebook ads. They want to pay for Zillow or Realtor.com or all these different sites. So um, they don't want to pick up the phone and make an outbound lead or outbound phone call. So they're trying to set up all of these resources to be inbound so people call them. Well, when you get in real estate, this just does not start ringing. You have to make your phone ring in order to make your phone ring. You know what I mean by that? Like you have to
So what
start
you're
dialing
saying
out.
is the fact that you have your name on a business card does not immediately tell everyone who's interested in
No,
buying a house that you're available.
not at all. It's crazy. It's like I walk around and it's like, don't you guys know I'm in real estate? I'm like, come on. But
But you got to have one of those T-shirts that you wear to the gym that says, "Yes, I do sell real estate."
yeah. No, it's great. When I used to work in a coffee shop doing buyer consultations, I would put a little thing on the back of my computer that says, "Ask me anything about real estate," which was actually kind of cool. So, but when it comes down to lead generation, it's outbound versus inbound. So as you get started, you have no pipeline, and this industry is a 90-day sales cycle. So anything that you do today, you're still not going to see any results for at least 90 days. You can get somebody who says, "Yeah, I'm looking to buy a house." Well, it could take 4 to 6 weeks to find it. You got another 4 to 6 weeks to close it. You have to clear all your contingencies. Then you get a check. It's not, "Hey, cool. All right, awesome. Let's go." I mean, your perfect scenario is finding $1 million buyer cash, no inspection, and close in a week. That is a unicorn. It doesn't happen. Like you're not going to, it's not like that's not going to be the norm. So a lot of your energy as you get started, especially your first 2 years, and I say the first 2 years, not 6 months, not 3 months, your first 2 years, 90% of your energy is going to be focused on building your momentum, building your pipeline, because you're going to start getting on the phone. You start making these conversations, and it's like, okay, great. I made 250 some phone calls today. I've talked to 20 people. I got 5 that are potential nurturers. Well, one's 3 months down the line, one's 6 months, one's 12 months. Tomorrow, you're doing the same thing. You're just adding people on your opportunity board, and you're going after opportunities, and you're building your pipeline. But everybody you talk to, not everybody's ready today. So what happens is about right around the, I'd say 45 to 60-day mark, when somebody's in their prospecting and actively building their business, they go through this mental block that says, "This is stupid. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm not having any results. I'm done. This prospecting thing doesn't work. So I'm not going to do it anymore." But what happens around day 90 is that the people that you talked to 90 days ago all of a sudden start coming around, and they're like, "Oh, well, yeah, no, I'm all right. Yeah, I'm ready to go now." And you're like, "Oh, cool. I got a contract." Then, you're like, "Okay, well, that's cool. That just came out." Then another one pops and another one pops. And then all of a sudden you're like, "All right, cool. I'm doing it. I'm doing it." But what they fail to realize is that the activities that got them there was the initial activities that they took in that first 45, 60 days that they just stopped doing. So they run through the business on their pipeline. And when it's done, they're like, "Wait, I got nobody. I have nobody to work with now." So then now they panic, and they get back to, "Well, what happened? How did I get there? What happened? What did I do? I made phone calls." And then they go back through the cycle, and about 45 to 60 days, they have that same mental break and mindset. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. So, and I call that the real estate roller coaster. You go up, you're like, "Oh, 1 month you're eating filet every night. Next month you're eating hamburgers at McDonald's." It's like, okay, it's feast or famine, because the activity is not consistent. So if you continuously feed your top of funnel activities, the bottom of the funnel will take care of itself, but you have to
Yep.
focus on the
Yep.
top of funnel activities. So, and then you have to just work through the process, and the more you can, I equate it to shoving a watermelon down a garden hose. If you keep feeding the top of funnel activity, that watermelon will come out just from pressure alone. It's just a matter of time. So you gotta treat your business like that. Feed that top of funnel activities and be passionate about it, because you're going to be able to set yourself up for a very long time. And some of the cool things that you can do as a brand new agent, you don't have to have listings to do open houses. You can go do the open houses on other people's listings. You get underrepresented buyers that walk through the door. You can control your price point. You can control your area. If you start doing open houses for other people, you start getting knowledgeable about the neighborhood inventory, because you're looking at it every single week. Like, "Oh, what's all brand new this week? Great, I'm going to call this one." Now you're developing relationships with agents. Your name's getting out there. You do the social media. If you do 4 to 6 open houses in a weekend for 6 months in a brand new area where nobody knows you, you're not in your head, like, because this is right now. This is it. So
100%. This is it.
you do this 6 months, and you do, like, all of a sudden people are like, "You're everywhere. I see you. You must have been
Yep.
here forever." So, and we nod our head, because on your on the flip side. So I moved to Florida. This is how we met. I moved to Florida. I met you at a
That's right.
BNI group, and I moved in May of 23. As we record this right now, it is October of 24. It is a
24. Yep.
year and 3 months. Year and 3 months. I've closed 65 plus deals in a year and 3 months down here in Florida in a
Yep,
market
that's
where I know
huge.
nobody, know nobody. I've built an
Yep.
investment group of almost 3,000 people in just over a year. I I don't know. I don't have an SOI. I have no sphere of influence. I don't know anybody, but it's
Hmm.
about going after and getting into it in the market. So brand new agents like, oh, well, you got this and you got this. No, you have the advantage. Every single one of you have an advantage over anybody else. You have your own sphere. Don't be a secret agent. Just go out and get it. It's really it's yours for the taking. You just got to go out and do it. And then once you do it, the energy to keep the train going is a lot less than trying to push it to get it going again.
Right, right, right.
More,
And what I'm hearing you say is that so much boils down to deliberate action that you know won't even pay off for 3, 6 months to a year.
correct. So, and that's a great point. So, doing all of that activity, getting started. So, from May of 23 to February of 24, I probably only closed maybe 13 or 14 deals. It's a very, very small amount for me. And my total for the year was still relatively decent, but end of February to going into the beginning of March, I had 17 listings and I had 18 under contract between buyers and sellers. Can you imagine
Yeah,
like that
wow.
amount? That's
That's a
just me.
lot going
That's a
on in such a
lot.
short period of time.
And it's like, whoa, okay, cool. So a pipeline came to a head and that watermelon came through. It was just like, cool. It's like, and you'll go through points, you're like, man, I know I'm doing everything right. I'm doing the right dollar productive activities. My coach is telling me I'm doing it. I'm doing everything right, but nothing is popping. Building a business. I mean, have you gone through this where you're doing all the right activities, but you get to a point you're like, why is nothing going on? Why? Like, I've gone and quoted these jobs. I've done the appointments. I am showing houses. I'm writing offers, but nothing is popping. And then all of a sudden, it all starts coming at once. You don't get it when you want it. And they come in groups of like threes, fives, sevens. It's like, why can't you guys like spread it out? Spread it out. Like spread it out. That'd be great.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. No, exactly it. And I think that's probably true in most of life, actually, that
yeah.
there's something to be said for the work you do long in advance of when you experience the reward.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, so those are great points. I appreciate that much insight and that much experience. Um, one of the benefits too, I think, as I hear you describe it, you said you got licensed sometime around 2010,
Hmm.
and then you moved to Florida in
23.
2023. So you already had some 12, maybe 13 years of experience,
Yeah.
and then built a new business in a new space. And that's kind of like, it seems to me like you brought that level of experience to bear on the choices you made when you arrived in Central Florida.
Yeah. Brand new market. So, I've been coaching and training agents for years. Part of my background, like I was on a real estate team. I coached, trained, and developed and helped them with all the marketing, coaching, and training and recruiting for that team for like 3 years. And then I went independent in 2018. So I've coached a lot of agents and I've had to train a lot of agents. So most people are always looking for that magic pill, so to speak. What's the magic bullet in real estate? How do I be successful? And say, cool, well, you got to pick up the phone, you got to go talk to people, and you have to do the activity. And they're like, there's got to be a better way. It's like, that's proven track record though. They can go do this. And they're like, oh, no, that can't be it. So what happens is they end up broker chopping
Right, right, right.
because they're like, oh, well, this broker has promised me leads. It's like, okay, all right, well, if you've gone to your fifth brokerage and it's still not working out, there's one common denominator across the board. Like,
It's probably not the brokerage.
it is probably not the brokerage. It comes down to you and your
Yeah.
activity. You got to look at yourself and what you're doing. Um, so training and coaching and developing and teaching all these agents how to do it, like how to like, hey, how to go after business while still running my business. It
Hmm.
was cool. And everybody's like, all right, well, yeah, well, you're just operating on theory. It's like, oh, okay. Well, when I actually made the move to a different state, I mean, this wasn't like Michigan and Ohio. This is Michigan to Florida. Like there was I burned the bridges. There's no going back. And like, I still
Right.
operate in Michigan. But it's like, okay, I'm going. It's like, all right, I get here. I'm like, now what?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It
okay.
wasn't going to be just like an easy. We can do both, or
No,
um, yeah, I
no.
get it.
So like came in, it's like, all right, cool. I need to start networking with all the local professionals because I come from a mindset of abundance and hey, cool, I need to develop relationships because I would used to win offers in Michigan. I still win offers in Michigan, even though I'm not the best offer because of my reputation of just getting the deal past the finish line. Like, cool,
Right.
he wrote an offer, we're closing. Like that is my reputation. He writes an offer, we're getting to the closing table. Period.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
no
yeah,
ifs,
yeah.
ands, or buts. So like I would win offers because I was just because I was involved in on the deal.
You were
So
reliable and predictable, and what
I knew what I was
got the
doing.
delivery.
Yeah, it just it's I knew what I was doing. I know that I know how to navigate the objections on the inspection. So like, I had one story offshoot story. I had one. You deal with different people all throughout different transactions, and there's one. He's a good friend of mine, but he's a little bit on the spectrum. He has a little bit of Asperger's.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like, there's no you cannot you have to be literal and say exactly what you mean on everything. So finally get him a house. And like, we had gone through some showings. I'm like, you like the house? He's like, no. I go, cool. Do you want to go? And he goes, no, we had the appointment. How long is our appointment? I go, an hour. And we would spend an hour in the house because he wanted to fulfill the appointment time. So I started shrinking those to 15 minutes. So that way
Sorry, we could only get 15 minutes
you
for
only
this
got
one.
15 minutes. You got to go. But then we finally got the house that he was looking at. We did our inspection report, and the inspection had 26 items on the inspection report. And
Okay.
I'm like, hey, cool. So anything scary on the inspection report? And we're talking like, there's a loose doorknob and there's a drippy faucet, like some really, really small stuff. Like I don't that's nickel and dime stuff. I don't deal with those. I'm like, let's
Sure.
focus on the
Yeah.
big issues. He goes, there's 26 items on the inspection report. I go, yeah. And he goes, I want all of them. I'm like, okay. So I wrote a 26 item addendum for inspection because that's what he wanted.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And I call up the other agent. I call her up before I send it. I go, look, I don't normally do this. So I just want you to know that this is the perspective that I'm coming from. And I'm going to send this over your way. She goes, how bad is it? I go, it's not bad. It's just, this is what I'm dealing with. She's like, oh, okay. So she calls me up. She goes, look, my client agrees. He understands. He's doing everything but this. So I'm like, that's awesome. He's doing 25 of the 26 items that I asked for. I'm like, that
Right.
doesn't happen.
Tighten the doorknob and
Not doesn't happen. And so I call up my client. I go, cool. They agreed to the 25 of the 26. He goes, they missed one. I'm like, you gotta be
yeah,
kidding me.
that's what that means.
I'm like, I'll take care of that one. Well, all right. I'm like, is that fine for you? He goes, yeah, that's good. I'm like, all right. But like offhand on it. So I knew I had to get in here and I had to start networking with agents immediately. So I'm going to the Women's Council. I'm not a woman. I'm going to every single board event that our local board has to offer, like, hey, Title 101. I've been selling for 13 years prior to getting here. I don't need a title class, but I went there to go network with people. And it's like, okay, cool. Then, I begin to start developing relationships with them because those who are passionate about advancing their career go to a lot of that stuff. So it's like, all right,
Right, right, right.
cool.
Yeah, no,
Well,
that's a good point.
and I want to find the producers. I want to find the people that are doing the deals because that's who I want to associate with. So, what are you guys doing? What's working down here? And then start getting into the market. And that's, finding a need and just filling that need. I started the investor group 3 months into it because of just my experience up in Michigan versus what I felt like was a lack of knowledge base down this way here in Florida.
Yep,
So
yep. And I think that's a great example. Like Yeah, so you just mentioned a couple of things that I've always seen stand out as really proven behaviors. And one is find out what groups are already out there, whether that's a charity or whether that's a business development or something you can be a participant in and show up and be a good participant. People
Hmm.
really appreciate that. And then the other piece is you went and looked around and said there's kind of a need for investors to get together and have a drink after work and chat about investments. Why don't
Hmm.
I meet that need? And in so doing, I mean, I don't know that you've ever told me this, but I can 100% guarantee that you've done business from that investors group.
Oh, very, very much so. I've done a lot of business, and it's cool. Like, investing is really one of my like big passions. Like, I love selling houses, but I love investing because it's changed my life. And I love teaching people how to do it because I can help them change their life, which I think is really cool. So teaching different investment strategies. I've partnered, so this year I've done 6 off-market deals. And if I'm part of the deal and if I'm teaching it with you, cool. It's going to be 50-50 at the end of the day. Like that's the arrangement. Cool. Because I'm holding your hand and I'm showing you. I'm going to walk you through the process, but I'm going to show you everything that we're doing through that process. So I've helped disposition about $130,000 in revenue across 6 deals that
Mhm.
I've gotten 50-50 on with people. So I've made $65,000 teaching people how to do investments. And now it's great because now the handful of people that I've taught, one's doing her first flip. She's now by doing her flip, she's now found another opportunity and she's wholesaling that. And then now she's coming up with another flip. So now she's going to be starting her second flip in 6 months. And like I've been coaching her for 3 years and she did her first investment deal in May. And then she's like, that was easy. And I go, yeah. And she goes, I want to flip. So she ended up, she found another opportunity at the end of June, beginning of July, bought it. That flip's about to go on the market in about a week and a half. And it's like,
Yeah. That's
how cool
this
is
is
that?
very cool, right? There's the
Yeah.
rewards.
Yeah. And then like, she's got another one where, her handyman on her flip said, hey, do you buy more of these houses like this? She goes, yeah. So she found another one. She realized that, well, I don't have the money for it. So she wholesaled it to somebody else that she knew was also looking and buying a lot. So like, it's just, she's making more money off market and investing than she ever did as an agent. She's like, this
Right.
is crazy. She goes, I thought you were just full of bullshit. I'm like, no. So she's like, once I realized what you're doing is, actually legal and like that's cool. And the investor group has been pretty cool. And I know a lot of other people have done business through there. Just the connections that people have made. I've heard stories and I always like to hear those success stories. I just found out the other day that the young kid who is in the group got introduced to an agent who had a client that needed some tile work done, and he's also a handyman. And for the past year, he's been helping this guy flip this house, and he's had consistent work for like the last year. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's
Great.
cool.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
That's
it's cool.
amazing. So, do you have any? I want to wrap up and respect your time, but do you have any wild and crazy stories of deals that either went sideways or could have, or maybe a favorite deal that you've interacted on? And
I mean, there's so many stories. Every time you walk into a house, you're gonna meet somebody different. So down in Zephyr Hills, I had a sword pulled on me. Yeah,
well, yeah.
I set this.
Welcome to Florida.
Yeah, welcome to Florida. So I set an appointment with a guy, and it's mobile, and I go and knock on the door, and yeah, I feel like it was a meth house. I mean, it had aluminum foil on the windows, everything, and I'm like, "Hi," I'm gonna use fake names here, and like, "Hi, this is Jeff." He's like, "Yeah, my name's Jeff." I go, "Okay, cool. My name's Garrett. We set an appointment to meet today, 3 o'clock." He goes, I don't know who you are. I go, yeah, I know. We spoke on the phone. You're Jeff Smith, right? He goes, yeah, how'd you know my name? I go, because we spoke a couple of days ago, right? And he's like, yeah. And he goes, I don't know. I don't remember this conversation. And I go, okay. He's like, get off my property. I'm not interested in selling. Please leave. And then my wife was with me because we're going to go take photos for two listings right afterwards. And as I'm walking off of the porch, she goes, are you effing kidding me? I go, what? She goes, turn around. And he's got like a full on Game of Thrones broadsword just hanging out over his. And I'm like, she goes, a sword? Really? Sword? And he's like, don't ever come back. Get off my lawn. I'm like, okay, all right, have a good one. So, I mean, that was
Yep.
10 pounds of crazy in a 5 pound container. Like, that's crazy right there. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. You put
there's,
that on the do not call list,
do
huh?
not call it. And then, like, you come across some other things. Like, there's another appointment that I went on, and another handyman kind of a guy, handyman thing. And I walk in and he's like, well, I want this amount. I go, okay, well, your house is not currently in the state of presentation that I need in order to get that amount. What are you going to do to address the two RVs, the three cars, the toilet, the tub, the washing machines in the drive, the garbage and everything that's in the lawn? He goes, well, I'm a front lawn kind of guy. I go, what?
The front
He goes,
lawn kind of
he
guy.
goes, he goes, I'm a front lawn kind of a guy. He goes, you know what I mean? I go, actually, I don't. I've never heard anybody say that. He goes, well, I'm a handyman. I go, okay. He goes, so I do work for a lot of people. And like, after I'm done working, I don't always have time to go to the dump. So I have to stuff in the back of my truck. And I go, yeah, okay. He goes, so, I have to get it out of the back of my truck because I'm going to go work for their house again and do handyman. So when I take it out of the back of the truck, I know I'm going to have to take it over to the dump, right? I go, okay. He goes, so, I leave it in the front yard. I don't move it to the backyard because if I had moved to the backyard, I might have to move back to the front yard so I can take it back out to the dump. So I'm a front yard kind of guy. You know what I mean? I'm like, why don't you just stop by the dump on your way to your job? Like,
Right?
that would
Like,
make like the most sense right there for me. But there's a running joke. I'm like front yard kind of a guy. It blew my mind. It's like, it's yeah. There's so many
people.
things. There's people. People is the most
Probably
people.
one of the great joys of the business, but also,
Also biggest pain. So,
mhm.
and like that's the cool part. Like, there's four components to this real estate transaction. Like, you have the lead up, the appointment, and you have the point where you sign a listing agreement or a purchase agreement. Then you have your inspection, appraisal, closing. I mean, five core elements. But the amount of things that go in between each one of those elements, it's like, cool. This should be the same for every single transaction, but it's like, no, there's so many different things that can happen between A to Z, and it's like, well, that's new. We got to deal with that one. There's one that I closed earlier this year. Double probate, and it was seller finance, which also had to go through probate. So this is gonna be a fun story for you.
Right?
Um, so I meet with the grandson, who's currently 50 years old. All right. So his mom died, left him the property. Oh, okay. Well, her dad left her the property. So she continued to live in the property that her dad, essentially gave her. So, and she was still paying the owner finance deal as a contract for deed scenario.
Hmm.
And so, she was paying a monthly payment. So when she died, the grandson took it over, her son took it over, and he was making the payment on it. So trying to sell it, well, come to find out that, well, his mom didn't have a trust or estate trust or anything, so it had to go through probate. Well, going through her probate, we find out that her dad also never had a real estate trust or anything. So we had to open up another probate. So a probate to deed it to his dead daughter, who can in turn deed it to grandson. Cool, awesome. We get through that. So now we clear through all of that and find that the seller finance deal that we're trying to get the payoff for, well, we reach out to the lien holder, found out that he died. So now we had to run probate through the estate because it's a lien that has to get paid out to the estate. So now we had to run the lien through probate to find all the heirs to make sure we get a payoff and that they're
Yeah.
satisfied. It's like, I'm like, whoa. I'm like, this is wild. Like that's, I mean, going through probate, that's not a problem. Like the double probate, that was first, but then to add that third element, I'm like, okay, I've never had that happen either. It's like, okay, cool. And I encourage those things because each time I learned something from those. And like, that's the experience. Like, so when you have problems as an agent, encourage those and count your blessings that you're going through it, because what you're going through is going to give you experience. So then next time that you face it, you're like, got this. I got it.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I've been
I'm
through this
there.
before. I know what to do. I know what to do. I've been through this. Let's do this. I
Mm-hmm.
got it.
That's cool.
So it's
Good perspective.
yeah. So
Great perspective. All right, Garrett, I really appreciate your time today. And so if people want to check you out, they want to connect with you, how do they do that?
They can go to huffmangroupproperties.com. It's Huffman is my last name. You can Google me on the internet. You're going to find probably be about 63 different phone numbers because I have it purposely built up that way. So I'll know exactly where you're calling from when you do so. You can always reach out to me via email. It's garrett.huffman@soldbyhuffman.com. And I sell houses in Central Florida as well as Southeast Michigan. And I'm a 30% referral partner. So if you're watching this, feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to help you out.
Love it. Yeah. That's great. I appreciate that. I'll put all those links in our notes. And thanks so much for your time. It was a good chat, and I think some really great nuggets in there for people to put in their in their toolkit.
Absolutely.
Thanks, brother.